Today we're taking a detailed look at the most dangerous man at arms in Eternia, right now on Toy Habits Reviews. And before we dive into the review, smash that like button, turn on notifications, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss a beat. Hey everyone, welcome back to Toy Habits, and we are taking a detailed look at the Deluxe Masters of the Universe Revelation Masterverse Man-at-Arms. So let's kick things off by taking a look at his package. That didn't come out right. You know what I mean. All right, let's take a look at Man-at-Arms while he's still in his plastic prison, and he comes in the oversized Masters of the Universe Revelation box with that branding from the Netflix series. And this is what a deluxe pack out should be. I mean, he fills this entire window, which is amazing. And you see the awesome, amazing art that is on the side where you get to see his outcast form and also the man that he was before he was stripped of his title as the royal man-at-arms and banished from the kingdom under penalty of death. But on the back of the box, you see the amazing illustration of him wielding that really large shoulder cannon, which was an amazing scene in the Revelation series. So let's break him out of his prison and take a closer look at the figure. And let's start off like we usually do, and we will look at the banished version of Man-at-Arms from head to toe. And let's start with this amazing head sculpt. Now, this is a very battle-worn, battle-torn Man-at-Arms. He looks older, he looks wiser, he even has some gray in his beard and in his hair. He also has a very cool man bun, which I really respect. I think the hair sculpt looks really, really amazing here, and it actually looks like real hair. And if you flip it around, you can actually see how the hair lays against his furry cloth cape. He also has a very stern look on his face, and I love the way that they did his face sculpt. He's got furrowed brows, some pursed lips, and he just looks like he is ready to take on the world. And speaking of the furry cape, you can see that really up close. It's actually a fuzzy cape. If you could take a look on the inside, it has a different texture that's really smooth, and I think that gives it a really nice look. And it's tattered at the bottom, and you can see how worn it is. And the cape lays really nice, and if we zoom out a little bit, you can kind of see how it lays, and it just gives him that look that you saw in the Revelation series. He also comes with an orange scarf, which is a nice homage to his orange armor, and the color scheme looks really, really nice here. And to take a look at the rest of the details of the figure, I am going to take the furry cloak off. And so for this, you have to remove his head sculpt, and you can take off the scarf. But while we have it off, you can see the folds in the scarf, and it looks really nice. It looks like an actual piece of clothing the way that they designed this. And the figure comes packed with this soft goods cloak, and you can just remove it here, and it's kind of folded on top of each other to make it stay on him. And so here's another look at the cape and just the tattering at the bottom here. So let's get the head back on him, and we'll take a look at some of the more details. And with his cloak off, you can actually get a better look at how the hair lays, and you can also see there's a chunk of hair that's hanging down, framing his chin, and it's also present on the other side of the figure here. Also, the scarf lays much flatter when it's not plumped up by that cloak. So if you're looking for a display option, you could display him without his cloak, and he looks fantastic. All right, let's take a closer look at Man-at-Arms outfit. And given that this is banished Man-at-Arms, he does have very tattered clothes that look sewn together, and so you can see the varying textures, and it looks like he just pieced together a bunch of scraps of clothing material to place on his arms and also on his chest here. It looks really nice, and you can kind of see the patchwork
down on his midsection here. It's also present on the arms. It kind of looks like shoulder armor, but it's not. It's just the way that they have patched it, and I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it actually looks really good. You can actually see the back here. It doesn't have a lot of patching. It's just maybe 2 pieces of clothing that are sewn together at the seam. All right, and turning our attention to Man-at-Arms utility belt, he actually has a side fanny pack, which is really neat. It's he probably carries some tools or maybe some weapons in there that he has forged and found. His belt is really nice. It's thick. It's got a black and silver paint app to it, and it actually comes off. So you can see the attachment there where you can remove it to place his armor on, which we will show you in a bit. And his shirt hangs down in front of his waist, and it has some nice folds in the front, and it also has some folds in the back covering up his rear. And moving down to the pants, they are a simple pant design. It's more of a sage green. And again, it looks like there are layers of fabric here, and it looks like they are tucked into his boots, which is a really nice look. And his boots are very simple. It's just a nice black boot with a mint chip green wrap. All right, next up, let's take a look at the amazing pack out that Man-at-Arms comes with. And we will start with his traditional armor, and let's zoom in a little bit so we can catch all the detail. And you can see that this armor is in classic Man-at-Arms orange with some reddish orange detail around the piping. You can also see it coming up the collar here, which is a very nice piece. There's also some black faux fur on his shoulders on each side, and you can also see some of the riveting detail here. There's also a belt that's integrated into the armor, which is great because it actually helps keep Man-at-Arms' armor on him. It actually also has an extra piece of armor going down the midsection, and it has a really cool shoulder-mounted cannon. And so what's neat about this piece is you can actually remove it and take it off. So let's take a closer look at this piece. And this piece is actually really neat. It's a tiny piece, and you can choose to display him with or without it. But the cool thing is that these little front parts open up. They're on a hinge, and so you can actually make it so he is looking like he is firing something out of his shoulder cannon. So you can mount it there, or you can take it off. All right, let's take a look at some of the other pieces of armor, and let's start with the leg armor. Now, I was under the impression that this leg armors were the same, but they're actually 2 different pieces. And so it has a black piece of armor that goes over the knee, and you have the orange parts that go over the front of the boot and over the toe. And you can also see the detail on the side here. There's also some lettering on the bottom which says R, so it's foolproof. So this goes on his right leg. And picking up the left piece of armor just for comparison, you can also see that these 2 pieces are different. The left piece of armor has a bigger black piece covering the kneecap, and basically the same design going around. So clips on the side, armor pieces on the front that go over the shoe, and back armor to cover his calf. All right, and let's take a look at his oversized piece of shoulder armor, which is really neat. It's black and silver, and it's got a nice glossy finish for the armor. You can also see that there is a strap that holds it on to his arm, and it's a really cool piece, and we'll get this on him in a minute. And moving on to Man-at-Arms' head sculpt, again, we see the gray in his beard, and, instead of the downtrodden Man-at-Arms, he has his helmet on, which is a really nice paint app here. It's nice and shiny, and you can see the yellow running through the helmet here. And I know that people are going to ask, and so I'm actually going to bring in the first Man-at-Arms Revelation head sculpt, and you can actually see that the helmets are essentially the same, just with different paint apps. The one that came with the first version of Man-at-Arms is more of a matte finish, and the one that came with this version of Man-at-Arms is more of a shiny finish, and you can kind of get a look at the differences in his head sculpt here. All right, and next up, let's take a look at his hands. And I usually leave his hands alone, but I noticed that they're using the thicker peg to hold the hands in, kind of like what we first saw in the 40th anniversary He-Man edition. All right, so let's take a look at the armaments that Man-at-Arms comes with. And he comes with a smaller arm-mounted cannon, which is absolutely stunning. It's in a nice baby blue. You could see the yellow detail on the sides here, and also the red, and it's actually a squishy piece, so it's not a hard plastic piece, so you can move it, you can twist it, and it's not going to break. All right, now let's take a look at the piece de la resistance, this huge arm cannon that he comes with, and it's basically a huge gray piece that doesn't have a ton of detail, but I like the paint app that they chose to put on the top of it. It's a nice metallic finish in varying colors of blue and yellow. It does not fire anything, but you can see the mouth of the cannon has some detail here, and this cannon is massive and can't wait to see how it looks on the figure. And here is Man-at-Arms all geared up, and you can see why he is called the most dangerous man in Eternia. And you can see how his arm cannon or arm laser fits on, and it is a very snug fit and looks really awesome. You can also see the oversized shoulder armor and his oversized arm cannon. His armor looks really great, and I was actually going to try and do a change of outfit on Man-at-Arms, but it is actually really complicated because you have to feed this cloak through his armor just to get it to sit right and to get it to the look that you want. So you're going to have to figure that out yourself. It's actually not that bad, and it's super easy, just really difficult to capture that on camera. You can also see how the leg armor fits on as well. And I know that there were right and left indications for these, but they actually fit both ways, and I actually prefer to actually swap them. So the right armor is on the left and the left armor is on the right, because I like the clips to be on the outside. But he looks really awesome. One thing to note is that if you want to pose him with his arm cannon, you might need to take this piece off of him just to get the cannon to sit upright on his shoulder, just to get that look that you wanted to achieve. And that takes care of the badass version of Man-at-Arms. And that's a wrap for this review. Be sure to check out the amazing still image review by the one and only Toy Sorceress on our website at www.toyhabits.com. The link to the review is in the description and the pinned comment. As always, let us know what you think of this figure in the comments below, and thanks for tuning into Toy Habits.